Have you ever caught yourself having an entire conversation right there inside your mind? The kind where you're not actually speaking, but your thoughts are racing, narrating, judging, and even answering back. It might happen as soon as you wake up or right before you fall asleep. You could be preparing for a meeting or replaying an awkward conversation from yesterday. That mental voice never truly shuts off. But what if I told you this internal commentary isn't the real you? And what if the constant chatter, the endless self-talk, is quietly robbing you of the peace and clarity you've been longing for, without you even knowing it? In the next few minutes, we're going to embark on a revealing journey. We'll expose the hidden nature of that voice inside your head and unravel why it wields so much power over your everyday life. And then, we'll uncover a simple yet life-altering truth. Once you stop talking to yourself, the shift happens. A shift so profound, it can change your sense of who you are and how you move through the world. Intrigued? You should be. Because when you recognize the difference between who you actually are and the endless stream of chatter in your mind, you'll never see yourself or your life the same way again. Let's dive in. You wake up, turn off your alarm, and your mind springs into action. It might start with something like, "Ugh, I didn't sleep well," or "Today is going to be rough," or "I'm late again." Before you've even brushed your teeth, a dozen new thoughts arrive. "I need to answer that email. Why did I say that to my friend yesterday? I'm dreading that phone call." This internal voice rarely stops to breathe. It comments on your breakfast. "I should eat healthier, but I love this sugary cereal." Then it critiques how you look in the mirror. "I hate how I look in this outfit," or "I need to lose weight." It leaps from worry to worry, from one daydream to the next, often leaving you exhausted before your day truly begins. Isn't it bizarre that we have this endless monologue inside our heads, and we seldom question it? If a person followed you around all day, criticizing your every move or reminding you of every embarrassing mistake, you'd likely find them insufferable. Yet we allow our own minds to do this constantly. Here's the real question. Who is that voice really helping? Sometimes, we rationalize it by saying the voice is simply us thinking. But as we'll see, there's something much deeper going on. This endless commentary can, and often does, become the biggest obstacle to experiencing genuine peace. What if it's not just random chatter, but a cage we've built around ourselves, word by word, thought by thought? Imagine a bird in a cage. The bird can see the outside world, but can't reach it because of the bars. Now, replace the bars with words, your own thoughts, judgments, and criticisms. The cage is entirely mental, yet it's just as restrictive as a physical prison. Every time we mentally rant about our fears, regrets, or insecurities, we lay down another bar of that cage. We might not realize we're doing this, but the accumulation of these bars traps us in a cycle of self-doubt or self-criticism. If you've ever felt like you're spinning in place, unable to break free from old patterns, that's the cage at work. But here's the critical insight. The cage is imaginary. It's not made of steel or concrete. It's built of beliefs, stories, and assumptions. And because it's imaginary, it can be dismantled. However, dismantling it requires that we first see it for what it is, a cage. We must notice that we're perpetually talking to ourselves. We replay scenarios, practice arguments, worry about hypothetical problems. Our minds spin elaborate tapestries of what-ifs. And ironically, we often trust these internal monologues completely, as though they must represent some deeper wisdom or truth. But do they? To find out, we have to ask one of the oldest questions known to humankind. If that voice isn't you, then who or what are you really? Take a moment, right now, to listen to the voice in your head. It might be forming an opinion about this very video. It might be telling you this concept is too philosophical or too out there. Or maybe it's nodding along in agreement. Now, ask yourself, if I am the voice, who is the one hearing it? This is a question that has occupied spiritual teachers and philosophers for millennia. In the Hindu tradition, they call the silent listener the Atman, the true self that remains when the thought subsides. Buddhism points to a similar concept known as pure awareness. In Christianity, some might call it the still small voice, although that can be open to interpretation. Modern mindfulness practitioners often say, "You are the sky, your thoughts are just the weather," regardless of the words used. All these traditions are pointing to the same truth. There is a deeper you beyond thought. The everyday mind, the one that chatters constantly, is merely a tool, a function, not your essential identity. You can watch your thoughts come and go, just as you watch clouds drift across the sky. The real you is the observer, the awareness, the consciousness behind it all. This question alone can provoke a profound shift. The moment you truly grasp that the voice you've always assumed to be you is just a narrator, you begin to see your identity in a new light. But if you're the observer, not the chatter, how do you separate your sense of self from the endless stream of thoughts? Here's a secret few people realize. You don't have to wrestle your mind into silence. If you try to forcibly shut off your thoughts, you'll likely end up even more fixated on them. Instead, the trick is to observe them without getting caught up in them. It's a bit like sitting on the bank of a river. The water, your thoughts, flows by. You can watch leaves or twigs drifting along. You see them come into view, float past, and then disappear downstream. You don't need to jump into the water and grab each leaf. Nor do you have to imagine that you are the leaf itself. You are simply there, watching. In practical terms, this can start with a simple daily practice, mindfulness or meditation. When you sit quietly for a few minutes each day, you focus on your breath or the sensations in your body. Thoughts inevitably rise. Instead of labeling them good or bad, or judging yourself for having them, you notice them and let them go. Yes, it's challenging at first. Your mind will want to carry you away, but with patience and practice, you learn to watch thoughts without reacting. The more you do this, the more you discover a quiet space within, a space that's not frantic or anxious, but calm and present. As you develop this ability to observe, an incredible transformation begins. But what does that transformation look like in real life? Now, let's get practical. How does this shift manifest in daily life? If you've ever felt stuck in traffic, you know the chorus of thoughts. I hate this. I'm going to be late. Why is this always happening? The usual result? Stress, tension in your shoulders, maybe an angry outburst. After you experience the shift, here's how it changes. You're still in traffic, but you notice your thoughts revving up. You feel the tension begin. Only now, you remember that these thoughts are not you. They're just mental noise. You observe them without jumping into the frantic loop. You might take a deep breath, notice the buildings or trees outside, maybe even put on some calming music. Suddenly, you're in the same situation, but your experience of it is entirely different. Your mood remains relatively calm. You might even come up with a creative idea or enjoy a rare moment of stillness in the middle of a busy day. This transformation extends to relationships too. When someone says something hurtful, your old self might react instantly, firing back a harsh comment or stewing in anger. Post-shift, you notice your hurt feelings. but you also recognize the swirl of thoughts forming in your mind. They're so unfair. They always do this. I need to defend myself. Instead of letting those thoughts control you, you pause. You breathe. You respond more thoughtfully, with greater empathy or firm but respectful boundaries. But how do you ensure this way of living becomes a consistent reality, rather than a fleeting moment of calm? A single moment of insight can spark the shift, but maintaining it requires intentional practice. Here are 4 powerful ways to cultivate a mind that's less controlled by the chatter. Daily mindfulness check-ins. Set aside 5 to 10 minutes each morning or evening. Sit comfortably and pay attention to your breath. When thoughts come, observe them without judgment and return to your breath. This simple habit, repeated consistently, rewires your brain for calm observation rather than reactivity. Gratitude journaling. Our minds love to dwell on problems. By writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day, you train your mind to spot the positive. This subtly quiets negative self-talk, replacing it with appreciation. Self-compassion breaks when you catch your inner voice berating you. You're not good enough. You messed up again. Pause. Imagine speaking to a dear friend going through the same situation. How would you talk to them? Offer yourself that same kindness. Over time, self-compassion softens the harsh edges of your inner monologue. Healthy boundaries with technology. We are constantly bombarded by notifications and updates. Each ping or pop-up can fuel an avalanche of mental chatter. By setting boundaries, like no phone zones or do not disturb hours, you create space for your mind to breathe. That space is where stillness can flourish. So you've got the tools. But what about those big moments in life? The crises, heartbreaks, or massive failures? How does the shift help us then? Life doesn't always hand us calm waters. We face crises, losing a job, a relationship ending, or health scares that shake us to our core. In those moments, the mind's voice can become deafening, spinning catastrophic narratives about the future or dwelling on the pain of the past. Yet this is when awareness truly shows its value. When you've practiced observing your thoughts in simpler daily contexts, you're better equipped to handle the tidal waves of major life events. Instead of drowning in anxious, repetitive thoughts, you can notice them and say, there's my mind telling me everything is doomed. You don't buy into it wholeheartedly. You feel the emotional intensity, but remain anchored in the present. Sometimes people misunderstand this to mean you become cold or detached. Actually, it's the opposite. With awareness, you feel your emotions fully without being consumed by them. You allow grief, sadness, or anger to move through you, but you don't conflate those emotions with your identity. In other words, you experience them rather than becoming them. This doesn't make life's storms magically disappear. You'll still face them, but you'll endure them with a sense of spaciousness. A sense that, no matter how rough the waters get, there is a calm center inside you that remains untouched. This transformation isn't just for personal peace. It also affects how you interact with the world at large. What does that look like, and why does it matter? When you shift from identifying with your mental chatter to recognizing yourself as the observer, people around you notice. You might become more patient, less reactive, and genuinely more present. Conversations deepen because you're actually listening instead of waiting for your turn to speak. You ask questions. You engage with curiosity rather than reflexive judgment. Friends, family, and colleagues may wonder, what changed? Why are you so calm lately? You'll find that this ripple effect can inspire others. When someone notices your ability to handle stress with composure, They might ask for advice or try out mindfulness techniques themselves. On a larger scale, communities made up of people who are not perpetually driven by anxious or judgmental self-talk become more resilient. Conflicts are approached with reasoned dialogue instead of impulsive anger. Empathy grows. Even broader social issues can benefit when individuals are operating from a place of clarity and compassion rather than fear and reactivity. Now, all this talk about the shift might make it sound lofty, but it's actually accessible right here and now. You don't need to adopt a new belief system or move to a mountaintop. The shift is already within you. It's waiting for your attention, your willingness to notice. Here's the heart of it all. You are not the voice in your head. You never were. You are the awareness, the still presence that hears it. Once you stop talking to yourself and instead observe, the world doesn't just remain the same old place. It opens up. You begin to see life's richness and depth that was previously drowned out by incessant mental noise. Ordinary moments like sipping coffee in the morning or seeing sunlight filter through your window become small wonders. Challenging moments like conflict at work or personal heartbreak become invitations to remain grounded in awareness rather than triggers that catapult you into panic. Opportunities for growth appear where you once only saw insurmountable problems because your mind is less clogged by the chatter of "I can't" or "I'm not enough." Think of each day as another chance to rediscover who you truly are, the one observing the thoughts, the presence behind the personality. And as you cultivate this realization, you'll notice that even as life's external circumstances fluctuate, sometimes in your favor, sometimes not, your internal equilibrium remains more stable, more content. Now, I want to hear from you. What does the voice in your head tell you most often? Is it a relentless critic, a worrier, a people pleaser? Or have you noticed moments of stillness breaking through? Share your story in the comments. Let's transform this topic from an idea into a living conversation. Hit that like button if you found value in this exploration. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into mindfulness, personal transformation, and unlocking the human experience in ways that empower us all. Share this video with someone who might be caught in their own mental chatter. Sometimes, just one insight can lead to a profound change. Remember, the shift isn't just something that happens once. It's a journey, a practice, a moment-by-moment choice. And each time you catch your mind spiraling and gently return to being the observer, you lay another brick in the foundation of true inner freedom. Because once you stop talking to yourself, the shift happens. And when the shift happens, life unfolds in ways you never thought possible. Here's to the journey, the silence within, and the indescribable power that emerges when you realize who you really are. Thank you for investing your time in this exploration. Keep noticing, keep breathing, and keep stepping into the quiet wonder of the present moment. Until next time, take care, stay aware, and embrace the stillness that's always waiting for you beneath the noise.